Will! My mic wasn't on. Holy hell. All right, let me just rewind all of that and say all of that over again. Will, it's so good to see you. It's good to hear that everything's going well. You're going to be in town on the 25th. I should be around, I think. Hit me up. That's a Monday for you guys. No, full on user error. I just had the volume down. That's all it is. Nobody to blame but myself. All right, what else was I saying? I don't have any major updates for you. I do have a sound pack that I need to finish and delivered today. All the sounds are made. You guys were there for those. I'm just going through and naming these. Well, you guys weren't there for like the mix down of all of them, but you saw me create all the sounds and the layering for most of them. So maybe we'll touch a few of those before we jump into the main event, which I think is going to be some drum breaks and toppers. I'm hoping we get into some weird stuff. It always is better when we get into some weird stuff. If we get into some weird stuff, we can, like, I don't know, get some cool psychedelic techno stuff slipped into this pack. So you guys shout out the BPMs you want. I already started by knocking out a handful, 15 or so, at 140. We can listen through those, but as they are right now, they're just breaks. And I'd like to turn them into something totally different and wild. So we'll probably do that. Man. Something happened this morning that totally stuck with me. I'm going to say it out loud and get it off my chest, see if it gets out of my head. Okay, so I drop the kiddo off at school, right? And I'm heading back towards home, and I'm waiting patiently at the stop sign to enter traffic. And this dog that I see, that it was sitting like on a front porch step about a block back. And I see this dog tear past my car and right out into traffic. I'm stopped, I'm waiting because traffic is going, right? This dog, just completely fearless, just and people around are like, you know, they all like react, they're slowing down and stopping and whatnot. Dog is just like running top speed, no cares in the world. Everyone is like, don't hit the dog. Dog is just like running straight down the middle of the road and then goes into lane of traffic and then gets to this one block and like calmly goes over to the sidewalk and starts just walking down the sidewalk. And I'm thinking, oh, this dog must be like following like the path of like a regular walk that it goes on with its owner or something. I don't know. But all these people around me are just like losing their minds about this dog. This dog does not care. Does not have a care. Just going for a quick little jaunt this morning. So glad that dog did not get hit. Just like tore right past me, top speed, right out into traffic, ran right between two cars. It's like, oh, please don't hit this dog. All right, well, that was my morning excitement this morning. That was like my first cup of coffee right there, that jolt. You know what? Maybe I'll name those files later. I think I want to get into the breaks. All right, let's turn off this thing. Oh, God. All right, so we've got some breaks here. And like I said, there's like 15 of them here or so. Turn this up so you can actually hear what we're doing. And I should probably loop these guys here. Oh, I've got shaper box on this one. All right, so actually this is actually kind of a cool one right here. Maybe we'll actually start with this, or in this direction anyway. Just one sec. Okay. All right, let's put a beat into this thing and see. I know we're working on a beat, but let's put a kick drum into this thing. Dun, 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 dun. Maybe this one. Yeah. Boom. Instant beat. It's a hit. Let's do this. Let's make sure this thing is big enough for y'all to see. And let's start shaping this a bit. Okay, so we'll just call this, it's going to be 140. Let's copy this, and we'll just knock out a handful of these. We'll just name them all the same. And this will help us build up a bit of continuity here. I'm just taking out the low end with that EQ, just so this works a bit better as a topper in most situations. And for these, hey, Paul. Paul's here, tuning in from sunny Maryland. It is sunny here in Portland too. It just like turned into summer overnight the other day. It went from like 50 to 90. Oh, hey, did anybody see the auroras? So Drumick says, I'm curious how you see the future of sound design, OhmLab. AI seems to be integrating into everything. Soon enough, you just ask your DAW to create a specific sound in fine detail. Where do you see this all going? I see it all going kind of... Respect the gazelle. Thank you, Paul. What is that? 44 months. Whew. 72 and sunny. It is. It's already warm here. I'm sure. Let's see what it is here. It's 10:30 a.m. It's 64 degrees. It says we're gonna hit a high of 72. I kind of doubt that. It's been in the like mid 90s the last couple of days. I don't know. We'll see. I know, Gazelle kills me. Okay, so here's where I see it going. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's not going to take as much time as a lot of people think it might right now. I think it's going to be kind of shocking how quickly the evolution actually happens. And I think it's going to be shocking just how good it is. I think that when people had their minds blown with the first few iterations of high quality generative image uh, engines, platforms, models, I think that that same kind of shock and awe is like just below the surface right now. I think I shared some last week or a couple of weeks ago. UDIO. They're this incredibly high fidelity music platform. It's AI generated. Um, there is diffusion taking place, but it's hard to believe because it is such high fidelity audio with original lyrics based upon the same text prompt that you've entered, giving you everything, the sounds, the performance. The focus is on the delivery, not the actual conjuring of audio. Like they're many steps ahead of everyone else in that regard. But when it comes to sounds, there's actually been quite a bit of this in existence already, and a lot of people don't know this. A lot of the kind of, I guess we'll call them kind of mundane, kind of low hanging fruit, or like highly used sounds in sync work, like footsteps, right? And little trinket sounds, like very, very commonplace everyday things that you don't even think about. They're ubiquitous to existence, right? A lot of sounds like that actually have been conjured for a while in some cases. There have been um, projects that were started many, many years ago on college campuses to emulate uh, the the true to life form of sound of something focusing just on the delivery of very specific frequencies at very specific time, right? Like everyone's kind of tried this from different angles over the years. Long story short, my thoughts on it are it's going to be a lot like what Photoshop was to photographers when Photoshop first stepped on the scene. Not everybody understood how to use it to its full potential, right? But very quickly after its arrival, we started to see people use it in ways that even Adobe hadn't really uh, expected at that time, right? We've seen the same thing happen with other tools, right? Apple stopped writing user manuals a long time ago for this very reason, right? The users are kind of show us the way. So it's really unique, this situation that we're in, because a lot of this stuff has been open sourced from the beginning, and many um, shall we say, like common folk have had an opportunity to participate in this, right? People that have for however they arrived in the place they are in life have the knowledge and means to play along right now. um, and this is important because all of these tools that are being developed and launched, they're being developed with APIs, things that other people can tap into, right? Um, and this is where the real fun happens, right? This is where guys like our team can start building tools alongside it or alongside other people with those same, like as forks of those same projects, right? Um, so just to kind of like bring this all together, you're going to start seeing individual capabilities and features being integrated into tools that you already use. If you use something like Canva, you've been seeing the image generation stuff in there. If you use Adobe stuff, you've seen Firefly and other things being incorporated. Um, it happens slowly at first, and it's good. Those those little integrations are going to lead to basically seamless content integration as well, not just technology integration, but like content integration, right? So if you're creating a song and you need a snare, the snares that you have just aren't quite right, you can tweak something or conjure something that is in just a matter of seconds. Now, did the snare um, make the music for you? No. So in this specific situation, like AI doesn't break anything, right? It just kind of enhances your workflow, right? Um, those other models that I was just speaking to, like Udio and whatnot, it will actually just conjure the music for you, right? Okay, so we've got a bit of a problem creatively here, right? We've got the people who have existed uh, because of and through music and sound as a means, right? Um, and now the large majority of folks are probably going to opt for AI generated content in their own projects because they're going to feel like they're in control of that, right? It's a me thing, right? When you started taking control of the images for your music, you didn't consider the fact that prior to this, right, someone may have had to have been hired to make art that looked that good. And it's not something that is a like an intended um, impact, like you haven't intended someone else to feel left out or on the sidelines or whatever. And over time our perspective shifts around these things greatly, right? We now see it as, oh, I've got this beat done, what do I have to do? Oh, I have to write a description, I have to get art made, right? It's a checklist thing now, right? It's our responsibility, right? So with that comes a shift in expectations as we are expected to deliver those things, right? The quality of those things kind of shifts too. It's all kind of this shifting thing. When it comes to the conjuring of sound effects, this is an interesting one because a lot of the more impressive sound effects involves a fair bit of layering and processing, and to arrive at these outcomes um, through diffusion is quite difficult. I'll explain what diffusion is in just a second. When we're trying to figure it out as humans, I make something complex and interesting, and then you hear that and you're trying your best to recreate it. You're using all sorts of logic and recall and all sorts of stuff, right? You're clever. You're going to figure out what kind of tones and timbres and textures might combine to make something that sounds like that, right? And we could come up with totally different processes and arrive at almost the same exact sound in the outcome. Diffusion is this kind of messy process. It starts with all of the frequencies, right? Noise. It starts with noise and it starts to carve away at what it thinks it's hearing. Now, the problem with the complexity of sound design, like cinematic sound design and more complex, like future sound design, bass heavy music sound design, stuff like that, a lot of it is reliant upon complex processes, right? Not only layering, but like mid-side processing, right, and phase cancellation, and all of these nuanced things, right? And then we tend to create something really perfect and polished, and then we intentionally degrade it, right? We reduce the sample rate or the bits or whatever, and we do all of these very, very specific things. Those things are hard to emulate outright, right? They really are. So, um, there's still a little ways to go. All of that said, it's just a matter of time. Like any one of the things that anybody wants to talk about in any of this, like creative landscapes that AI is touching or will touch, it's all inevitability. There isn't anything that I can create now that won't be created better soon, like with more clarity or greater depth or just simply quicker, right? And then you will see, I guess, the next logical thing to see happen is a lot of the tools begin to actually disappear because the tools won't be required anymore. And like I know that's a huge thing to hear and like to think about, but stop and think about it. Like I'm sitting here on top of thousands of instruments, yet I don't have a piano in the room with me or anything like that, right? So we've been doing this for a really long time. Um, the difference here is that we are going to be kind of directing things, and it's we'll be gatekeepers in a way, right? Like if I'm prompting a response and the response isn't completely satisfactory to me, or it's not in alignment with my expectations, then I'm going to go back at it, right? I'm going to refine the prompt until I get what I want back out. Now there's a different process here, this new human process, right? I understand what is satisfying in this unique situation because it is my unique idea and the machine doesn't know what it is. So now I'm trying to hone the output of the machine to arrive at the outcomes that I want, because I know that if it's satisfying to me, it's going to be satisfying to other humans, and that may not be fully comprehended in the same ways by the machine, but it will be able to work with me there and recreate those same types of satisfying outcomes after. Like it will learn. So there's just going to have to be this new path and a whole different set of expectations from the people using all these tools and engaging with it. And we're just going to have to be okay with certain things disappearing and changing. And um, I think that humans being humans, and with there being such a huge emphasis right now on protecting the integrity of like the origin of art and creative processes, that there will be for quite some time a community around, and it might even strengthen through all of this, a community around analog creation, and like honing one's knowledge and skills to really, command their position. And yeah, let's see what everyone's saying in chat, because I'm not very good at reading and talking at the same time. So Paul says, I love the smell of gazelle in the morning. Syndromic is saying, yeah, Udio seems to be freaking everyone out right now. Yeah, and rightly so. When we look at um, any of the, like, okay, Mid-Journey. You and I, we might not be graphic designers or photographers or whatever, so we're playing with this thing uh, like little kids, like, right? Like we're like, oh gosh, look what it can do. It could do even more tomorrow. It's going to be amazing. The people that are making that art originally had no worries in regards of the average person encroaching upon their livelihood. It was only ever other highly skilled people within that niche industry, and that was okay because competition's okay and the world is big. But when everyone or everyone with the means to access technology can do those same things, because they can use the QWERTY keyboard, then there's an issue, because now we can't tie livelihood to creation in the same ways that we have historically. And that this is it's going to be a big stumbling point. It's going to be messy and really eye-opening for a lot of people, I think. And um I don't want to sound like all doomsday, because there's going to be way more benefits that come with it, right? I think that right now people in music and sound are feeling very threatened, and rightly so. We've seen technology displace people all over the place, but what we haven't experienced is our own finger clicking something and instantaneously having this response that's mind blowing. Right? We didn't have to drive anywhere to get there. We don't have to have anybody else show us this thing. We can just click a button and it happens. And we know with absolute certainty when we click the button the next time, tomorrow, it'll be even better. And we aren't so sure about ourselves in that regard, right? We're feeling probably for the first time that this is like a real inferiority thing, right? So I think the one thing to consider is that um, the people who have felt most secure in a lot of this, and a lot of the people leading the charge, these are people who like really truly innovate, right? They wake up and they want to push ahead further each day, and it isn't something that is inside of everyone to the same extent or degree. I don't think, just naturally, I don't think. um, but it's got to come back to the expectation, right? Do you ever make yourself food at home that's really yummy and satisfying to you, even though it requires effort greater than open cereal box, pour cereal box, consume cereal? You know what I mean? Like, we do these things. We don't have. Yo, Seth, respect the gazelle. Um, we have these value systems that I feel have been kind of disrupted, and uh, just they've been broken. They've been broken. Um, why do people make music? Why do people paint? Right? Like, will people stop doing that just because they're not getting rich because of it? Because I would counter, like, why is anyone out there making music right now? There's like, what, 12 or 50 people actually making money from making music that people just listen to, right? All the other dollars are being made by music being used in some way, right? Um, so I would say that most people are doing creative things because there's pleasure in it, because it's in them. The question that people seem to be asking right now is any of it worth it anymore now with AI, which is kind of a it it's a that's a tough thing, because like there's plenty of people out there that, go home and like play the piano, and they don't play in a concert hall. They don't play live on the weekends. They don't busk on the streets. They don't have a label. You know what I mean? Um, so I don't know. You know, uh, then there's the other side, right? Okay, well, sound design is driven by projects, right? How do we continue to push the envelope with sound design, right? If we don't have the projects to push them forward. The projects are what pay the sound designers. There's money there. There's momentum and gravity and like real life stuff. And those things are valid, and there's going to have to be um some form of just like real reckoning and like genuine acknowledgement of what humans need and what they don't need, and what our assignments are going to be in society. Like, it's really going to have to get to that point pretty quickly, I think, because there's like already you can kind of see in the jobs reports and stuff, like it's already going back towards skilled labor and stuff, right? So it's like, if this continues, where does everybody go? And one of the obvious outcomes is, well, wouldn't we use the new tools and the new assistants and stuff just to help us like create differently or consume? All right, Paul is saying AI music production peaked with MS Music Producer, which shipped with their dev kit for a while. Ever play with that? No, actually, I did not. Syndromic says music producers might just vaporize for the most part. I'm not sure how many end users really care who or what makes music or the ethics involved. Syndromic, I think you're right. Just like, when we hit the button and we get a pretty picture. Yeah. Um, Yeah, Roku says, or do like me, don't care if AI takes over the market or create music myself regardless because I love the process and the art. Yeah, I think that's a, you know, money is so complicated, isn't it? I'm just going to read from the chat here for a minute and catch up with you guys. Roku's been making music since 11 years old. Only when he turned 24, you think perhaps it could be his job. Um, didn't even know it was possible to make money from it. Zendremic says the ethics of AI corporations may be impeding future growth from humans. Educational content creators rely on ad revenue to continue their studies and content creation. If they can't afford to keep going, those educational creators will just fall off. The way then we have AI generated education when it doesn't have human content to remix. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Paul says, open cereal box, open DoorDash app, click, click, click cereal. I think it's more like what did the captain always say? Earl Grey, Earl Grey, hot, right? Or did he actually have to say tea, Earl Grey tea, hot, and then it would just whoosh, conjure, like the cup would be made at the same time as the tea, right? Paul says, I make music to keep people from spending money on Taylor Swift. Gotta get busy. Syndromic says, just waiting for Spotify to generate their own music playlist by Spot from Spotify. Okay, so Syndromic, I don't know if you've been present during some of the streams to hear my conspiracy theory over the past few years, but I think Spotify has been doing this for some time. I do. I do. Syndromic says, "Do you think AI empowers you as a sound designer, and if so, how?" OhmLab, I'm asking these questions because AI is kind of freaking me out right now in every way. Okay, so the ways in which AI empowers me as a sound designer, I would say I have. Um, Let me just run through what I think my skill sets are. Okay, because I think that it's important to recognize the fact that we've all been assisted by our tools for quite some time. Okay, like one of the reasons why I like absinthe so much still, even though it's now like this kind of um uh I don't want to call it like defunct or like this archived thing. Anyway, it has this mutate feature, right? If I've gone and I've saved my sounds intentionally the right way and tagged it with the keywords available to me, I can then mutate my sounds in fairly intentional ways in new directions and get these outcomes that I honestly wouldn't have arrived at myself. I honestly wouldn't have, because I don't think I would go back into that sound and do that. I think I would start again from scratch because it's who I am. So that right there, that one specific feature is not AI. But as someone who has helped build AI tools, I will tell you this. All AI does is automate certain processes that you've already done. And we know this because we it's connecting the dots, right? It's like telling a little script or a bot to take this thing, add this thing to it, then export it and call it this thing, right? And there might be a whole bunch of other processes in between, but it's all the same exact thing, right? So to me, I don't see those things as threats. I see those things as benefits. Now, when I conjure up something out of nothing, there's a totally different feeling. When I generate something from AI, there's a very different feeling. Right now, I hear a lot of flaws and stuff in what AI generates, but I see where it's all going. It's going to sound impeccable. And when it does, it's going to be highly powerful and profitable for me because I will be able to instantly transform Like, this is an important word. Transform one sound into another. The same way that, a green screen. I still almost say blue screen every single time, because when I first started in the industry, everything was blue screen. You can you can use blue screen right now to put yourself anywhere in the world and influence the perception of everyone engaging with you on that screen, right? Or you can use that green screen technology to point at a map and explain to people why they need to, duck and cover or shelter this weekend. You know what I mean? Like, all of these things are great in that sense because they're helping us do something better that we weren't able to do before. The fact that soon millions and millions of people will be able to type words in and get sounds out, uh, that I used to kind of have a corner on in the market, um, or that I've made money for years off of, training other people how to do these things because they are so complex and specific. Um, that's pretty threatening, right? That's pretty threatening. I would say it's right on par with, when I was young, learning about Social Security and how it all worked, um, and just kind of doing the basic math in my head as a kid and thinking, that's not going to be there when I'm old. Like, my parents' generation far outnumbers my generation. There's no way in the world we're going to have money left. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a similar feeling to that. Like, just knowing that these things are inevitable, that sucks. That said, the only reason I'm in the position I'm in right now is because I've innovated a ton, right? I've figured out a lot for myself on my own, and then I've employed those ideas to great effect, right? Clever little monkey at times. Um, so I have confidence that something will be figured out. You know what I mean? Like, I can figure out something, but I don't have the confidence that everyone will. You know what I mean? I just don't. Um, so I think it's got to come down to, a lot of training, and just genuine, uh, transparentness in general around, people's experiences, right? And, putting the onus on the people introducing these new technologies and tools, to create social safeguards and rails. And then it's up to the rest of us in society to enforce those things and make sure that, the aim is beneficial, and that at least in our lifetimes we have, a vision that is shared and not something that's being doled out. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Yeah. Um, so yeah, in the local current situations in Dremic, I think there's a lot of benefits, and the more you go along with it and stay on top of the tools so there isn't a big learning curve later, it behooves you. You will probably have a place in the end. Um, just like all of the people that got to continue working in this industry even after DAWs came out, you know? Um, like, the pandemic shut down a lot of studios that will never come back online. And it's not because of the pandemic, it's because people started learning how to use the tools that they already had, the DAWs and the synths, right? And all of this stuff, all of our collaboration became a greater focus. How do we collaborate online? Our focus shifted, we adapted. Jack Digital says, yes, I think, we'll just shift to using the new tools, but I think what is more important to the art and even the music is the story created by or behind the artist. This right here. Okay, so what Jack Digital is saying is just that this is the the reason why I would go out and spend so much money every single week buying albums. Just not many years ago still, right? Is because I would sit there and I would read from cover to cover all of the liner notes. Like I would buy up to get, the import or the collector's edition of whatever to get me the kind of the inside scoop, right? The deeper insights of like what was behind all of these songs and like why that one band member isn't in the band anymore or whatever. Those things are so um valuable, right? And they've disappeared by and large. Jack Digital goes on to say people don't just fall in for the music, they become interested in the entire image and the concept of the artist portrayed by just one person, if that makes sense. Earl Grey, hot. Yes, Roku, thank you. Paul says, or else he'd get a dude named Earl, all sweaty. That'd be funny. You just get a, hi, my name's Earl. Oh, man. Yeah, and I absinthe. Oh, I love getting caught up with the chat way after everyone has already said the things that they've said. Roku says I run a personal AI on my machine. I sometimes upload pieces of my music to ask it if it has any suggestions or different chord ideas. That process is really nice, like a producer buddy who you can spar with. The crazy thing is, it's starting to recognize my style and comes up with similar ideas I myself already have. Okay, so Syndromic, I'm going to show you another thing. I use AI regularly in my workflows, not for sound creation as much as I do for other stuff. Here, let me just. I've recently wrapped production on a. It's the first in a long series. It's cinematic in nature. You guys watch me do it. It's going to be called the Universe of Sound, and it's going to be each installment in the series is a planet or a moon or an outpost or a space station or something in some far off distant place in the universe. So each pack is very unique to itself. Anyway, in Planet Catal, which is the kind of the maiden voyage in this series, I made the decision to use an alien language for everything. Okay, I also wrote a backstory about this individual who uh, their origin point is Earth, but they're out on a lifelong mission to kind of float amongst the stars and visit different places and record what they find in these different places in the form of sound, basically. Right. So, in the form of drones and atmospheres and pulses and whatnot. And in the end, these reports are actually giant like soundtrack production kits. Basically, you can score whole movies or television shows with these. Anyway, so to that effect, I decided, hey, these things should probably have names, right? So I created an alien language. Well, actually, I asked an AI to create an alien language for me. And then I used a little bit of logic to come up with what kind of words might be used for what kinds of sounds. So there's kind of something. The people who play with this kit, they may never actually focus on these details to the extent to figure out that they can actually navigate the sounds if they can kind of start learning this. But that's fine. It's fine. The fact that I did it is because I wanted to do it. You know what I mean? And um, AI helped me. It created hundreds of names for me because this pack is like it's like 6 gigs worth of stuff. So that's one way in which AI helped. Um, and it helped in the story, the generation of the story. I started feeding it my ideas for this traveler and the planet and whatnot, and it spit back something cohesive and coherent, which was nice. Um, Syndromic says, AI, make me 100 drum sounds. Create a cover for me. Okay. Not send it to all the places. You're a doll. Let me know when the Benjamins arrive. Yeah, right. So it doesn't work quite that well yet, Syndromic, because the output of these different models is really low fidelity. But you make a really good point, right? Why would or what would stop anyone from doing that, making a sound pack of 100 drum sounds and then selling it? Well, it's already super saturated out there. If someone releases a pack of 100 drum sounds, they're really not going to make any money already. That's part of the truth of the landscape out there. The other thing is that once we get to that point, people won't buy those sound packs. They just won't. There will be a lot of different plugins, a lot of different plugins, a lot. And people will choose which plugins they like. They're going to be based off of different models. Different models will have different transform functions, so you'll be able to audition variations. There will just be different ways in which you can do this. And then processing will be the next thing, right? Like, how can we process this to make a difference? And then, you know what? Humans, being humans, we're going to relax a bit and we're going to say stuff like, you know what? It doesn't matter quite as much. It just doesn't matter quite as much. I used to put myself through a meat grinder to make it sound or be delivered in such a very specific way. But now I realize it doesn't matter quite as much. The real thing that matters is the music or the idea or whatever it is. And humans will start to focus on something slightly different in all of it. They're probably a deeper connection um, rather than impressiveness, you know? Um, we've we've made, I think I've mentioned this before, we've made a few different AI tools that are going to be integrated into ADD and other tools. Um, some are based off of the ability of AI to almost instantly ingest and consume something, right? And then correlate this data to other things, right? And make logical statements about this. So it's very easy to upload a screenplay, right? And then begin asking questions about where the script might go, or even, hey, let's just talk with one of these characters and now start asking one of these characters what it would be more likely to do in this situation. And now that character is going to answer based upon, you know, all of the characteristics that's associated with it in that script or screenplay, right? So it's going to be able to have a conversation with you, and the more conversation you have with it and you coach the AI, like, hey, no, that's probably not the kind of response I should be getting. They're going to remember that or acclimate to that feedback, right? Um, it'll be assimilated and it'll, you know, it'll be better the next time around. And those characters were created by a person, right? The conversation is happening with a person, so it's all being honed and directed by a person. The AI wouldn't be doing any of this. You know what I mean? It has no. It's not alive. It doesn't have a desire to make that play or that scene for that television show or that skit or whatever. So yeah. Roku Sai, Paul says, "Hey Roku, don't get lazy." And Roku says, "Actually, it does the opposite. It helps me streamline processes and helps me remember. It's why I can be so hyper productive when crunch time approaches." Yeah, and I would, I would second that emotion, and it's the only reason I've steered my efforts in the direction of making these kinds of responsible tools because it's important. Um, it's important. Like the expectations on people in our industry are unrealistic, and this helps level that playing field a fair bit. You know, audio folks tend to get the short end of the stick historically, so it really helps in that regard for sure. Centrovic says, we do all realize that the big AI corps basically took all of humanity, condensed it down to some gigs of data, and now are charging users to sell that repackaged data. Well, sort of. I mean, it's there's a lack of like context, and I mean, you're not wrong in that there's like just this huge knowledge base that, and I'm not okay with all of the harvesting of stuff. You know, part of why I don't like being around the social media platforms is because of this. I don't like how people have changed, like how with the kind of manipulation there, and like why all that stuff is occurring. I mean, you're right. There are some corporations that will do anything to get the data. It's true. Clochard says, and howdy, by the way, happy Monday. Welcome in. I understand AI is on another level, but there was this fear anytime a new technology came in, and yet post-war society is nowhere near to become reality. Hi, OhmLab, by the way. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the humans are, um, man, it's so interesting. Once you actually start like working on the backside with these things, you realize that it's just like anything else that you have to code or put together. The fact that something happens without us seeing the processes taking place is frightening because we are now clueless as to actually how it's happening. And we have to kind of trust the people who made this thing to tell us what's happening. And historically, trusting people who have access to information that we want and we don't have direct access to, that hasn't worked out well for us, or we don't feel like it has. And that's a big thing. I think that's a separate thing, but that's a big thing. Um, and that's why I think it's important. Getting back to what I was saying earlier about a lot of this stuff being open source and about like the average person having an opportunity to participate in all of these things, and the fact that these these tools, the models, the platforms, a lot of these other cascading technologies and tools are birthed from, you know, we're all having a chance to participate in that in real time. So it's going to end up being fairly um, democratic in that we will have different ways of interfacing with these things put before us. And because things need money to thrive right now in our current state, how people use and refuse to use certain things will matter pretty greatly, honestly. Um, the numbers that are involved with keeping these startups afloat are staggering. So a misstep is pretty devastating for one of these companies. Um, yeah. All of that said, you know, just getting back to the inevitability thing in regards to whether or not we should or should not expect a certain capability to be a reality, it's better just to acquiesce and say, yes, all of these things are just a matter of time. They are just a matter of time. Now, what can you do with technologies with those kind of capabilities, right? Once you're done feeling the blow and the staggering effect of it all, right? You've got to take a breath and ask yourself, like, what can I do with these technologies? Ask yourself what you would think of this if you were like an 8-year old, right? 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 Because they see this technology and they're like, ah, the same way that you may have looked at a tape recorder or a microphone or an electric guitar or whatever it was that first got you jazzed about sound. And they'll figure it out. It doesn't really matter about the older folks, honestly. You know what I mean? Because there's so many more steps that have to occur. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to take a little bit of time. People will adapt. Paul is saying lopsided populations will really hurt China. They're saying, yeah, I think that there's so much that's going to be disrupted, so much that's going to be disrupted, and it's not going to be easy or kind for um, a lot of folks. And I think that that's where the social responsibility of the people introducing and controlling those technologies really lies. And then it's on society to really enforce that, right? We have to take a hard look at how people survive, what they do each month to survive. Um, and start asking questions about like basic survival, like what are basic rights. Honestly, I think we're probably there. So syndromic, yeah. Like how many people out there have created alien languages? I have no idea. Yes, 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 exactly. So syndromic, so you're saying make plugins rather than sounds. Okay, so what I'm actually saying is do both. Do both. Hey, acute, how you doing? I would say do both because like if I make a tool and I put the fuel into the tool and you love the tool, then I can sell you more fuel, right? If I make the sounds that go into something and it's freaking rad, right? And the capabilities of it are just like bonkers, okay? Um, that's great. That's great. The AI can take care of all of the processing and manipulation and transform whatever. I can figure out what kind of food to feed that thing to keep it healthy. Acute says, this is fantastic. I've been using a combination of Llama, instruct for similar purposes, though it can't actually listen to the pieces I provide, just annotate notation, and like you said, suggest different ideas or concepts to expand upon. Absolute game chamber where writer's block is concerned. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is the real fear, I think, for society, Paul, the income divide. And I think that it's like this is almost like an ancient conversation now at this point. Like there's got to be a complete restructuring. Like that's a scary thought, right? There's got to be a complete restructuring, I think, of all of the how money moves around the world, how people use money, what money is. I think all of that has just got to be Star Trek time, guys. Star Trek time. I'm just reading this post here about the data is humanity, humanity in a bucket like KFC, but with less chicken. I hear you. I'm reading what you're saying. I'm not sure what I was trying to say there, but I feel exactly what you're saying. I totally understand. Acute says recent trends are moving further and further from using human data, though. Exactly. See OpenAI's comments on synthetic data generation and its usefulness in future, note, not current, training of models. Ideally, we will transition away from mass harvest and reprinting, and models will begin to develop truly novel techniques, outlooks that are over time influenced less and less by human bias, though this has nothing as to what AI's bias may look like as you feed models the output of others. Yeah, absolutely true. And also, I think it's really important to keep in mind that the people in the music and sound industry right now are very much focused on the effects on the music and sound industry. But we've got to take a beat, got to take a beat, you guys, and consider the fact that, like, this is a small lump in the pudding, right? So many things are being discovered right now. Like, we know absolutely nothing about where we come from, right? We've been on this planet for a really long time. We have no idea, like the stuff that we're going through right now with global warming, all that kind of stuff. Like that's happened before, right? We've seen now, like with lasers and technology and stuff that allow us to actually see this like the size and scope of civilizations and the fact that they disappeared quickly or whatever. Like we can get to the bottom of some of that stuff, right? Medicine, like there's been huge leaps forward with medicine and safety and science and so many other things. So I think that there's um, a much bigger thing at stake here, and I think that the outcomes are intended to be a net positive and a benefit, and the concerns about income um, are like huge and paramount, and also a separate conversation almost. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that the wheels are in motion and all of this is happening just makes it more that much more important for all of the money side of things to just be realistic and genuine. You know what I mean? and that it might not be such a bad thing to have um, something like AI for the average person to turn to uh, in these times, right? To help generate these ideas of different ways of doing things. Like when I remember when I first started learning about some financial stuff years ago in adulthood about banks specifically and about how banks make money. Like that thing, that bit of information kind of blew my mind. And I was in adulthood and it made me feel so stupid and small. But it's true. Banks make money. Like it's a convoluted process. There's other things involved. There's lots of people and blah, 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 blah. But banks make money. Banks hold your money. They control the money. They charge you to use money, but they also make money. Um, and in that, there's kind of a problem. Kind of like how in insurance companies, there's a problem. There's an inherent flaw in insurance companies. But I think the AI can look at that and be like, yeah, silly humans, you've been doing this to yourself for a really long time because this isn't logical. And all of you agree that it's not logical, but you can't change it because these 12 fat bastards over here are too rich and they won't let you. But I think there's a reckoning at a future point that just can't be avoided. Yeah, Clochard, I do believe you're right about Open AI not being open. I think that they they may have had good intentions, or maybe they thought that it was a really great way to get themselves early public trust. But they're not living up to their name. You're totally right. Um, Eventually, one single person may be able to create an entire game within a few months with AI art, sound coding, etc. Oh yeah, Syndremic. There are videos of someone going on to like to a chatbot and saying, "Write me Flappy Bird in whatever language," and then it runs. It runs. But argument is that this is just the initial process of training the. Yeah, exactly. So what Acute is saying is right now everything is super messy and humans are upset because humans are being used in this process of getting this off the ground. But like there's almost no point in pursuing any of that. That has already happened. The human stuff, right? We're not interested in the human stuff. We're trying to teach it. This is like, okay, think of it like this. It's like raising a kid. No joke. I'm gonna like equate this to being a parent because I'm a parent. Okay, I have to tell my kid, and my kid is wonderful. He is the best kid in the whole freaking world. I have to tell that guy the same thing a million times, and it's because it's programming, right? There's nothing broken in him. It's how humans work, right? It's how we're programmed. We're programmed over time, and I pour everything I have into him. I am completely honest and genuine, and I try to break every dangerous and harmful cycle that I've ever been through so it's not carried on for him. I'm trying to do all the right things, right? But all of that is in an effort to properly program him so then he can move beyond all of the stuff that I'm pushing into him so he can exist in a better way. And I think that right there is basically the summary of what we're seeing with AI right now, right? We are the parents, the humans, right, birthing this new kind of intelligence because we're screwed without it. There has to be a way for us to get past this old fat bastard problem. Without another name for it, I'm not sure what else to call it. Like we're all kind of being held captive by old grumpy bastards that have too much money than they could ever use in their lifetimes, and they're just like they're power monsters. I don't know what they are, but they're not real humans anymore, and they're holding humanity captive, kind of, right? So AI only really ever knows what it's learned from us. And if we tell it all of these things, like, hey, this is what's broken about the world, this is what we need to be better, like, we can start getting some ideas back that can help us move past those things. I think that's a pretty exciting thing. Yeah, yeah. Human did create the idea of science. This is true. This is true. All of the I think there's a point at which a lot of the conversations just kind of become kind of circular in a way, until different experiences are had that can like influence and update the direction of that conversation, if that makes sense. Yeah, Paul, you're right. I mean, climate change is business as usual. We probably expedite some things and we might curtail some things. But what we're learning right now about past civilizations and stuff, it's really putting a spotlight on the fact that this is how the Earth works. And we are one of many different species that have come to this realization, perhaps. Yeah. Of UBI and eyeball tokens. Oh my god, yeah, right. Right. Yeah, my hope would be that we can get past the whole thing of like, oh, you want a burrito? That's going to be $40 or whatever. Like just this escalation game of like, well, burrito used to be 10 cents and now it's $80. There will just have to be a point at which we walk up to the replicator and say Earl Grey hot, right? Or burrito. Oh no, humans totally responsible for current catastrophe. Which one would be my question? I think, I think that the climate change is actually a few times over. I think that we've screwed it up a few different ways. I think we screwed it up with plastics, and I think we screwed it up, which is a byproduct I know of the fossil fuels, but I think we also screwed it up with the fossil fuels. And I think that we've screwed it up with mining. I think mining is a, mm, yeah. Who's making these decisions, right? I think there's a lot of this too. You know, I see Acute saying, I'm not in complete disagreement with you either. The biggest grapple will be the actual philosophy of AI, which I think is what most conversations are trending toward now, which is exactly what we're doing, right? That we're out of the woodwork and that what models do such and such. Now the question becomes, we have a model that does such and such. How can we use it responsibly? Yeah, see, that's the thing is the thing about scientific pursuits, right? It's like weapons. Like we're going to chase this thing because we've got this technology, and now we have to figure out how do we to use it responsibly because now we have it. And it's like I think the reason why we have um, the fear and lack of communication around these things is because of the capitalistic pursuit, right? Sam Altman has this thing. He's like, hey, we're going to call it OpenAI. We're going to keep it open. Sam Altman ends up being Coke instead of Pepsi. Hey, we're going to introduce another chatbot next week. We're not talking about open source anymore. You know what I mean? Status quo, protect thy butt, all that. Self serving. The drug capital of the world. Oh, remember the days of $3 dozen oysters? Thrilled to pay 24 these days. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Open eye, trust us. Yeah, exactly. Oh, did any of you out there watch Succession? Because I feel like God, what was the thing that they came up with? We hear you. Oh, if you haven't watched Succession, none of this makes any sense, but ugh. Yeah, corporations that do bad things and then try to come up with taglines that make you love them somehow. It's just, oy. Oh, Nano steering us clear, saying, "Speaking of food, just reheated my fettuccine alfredo in a pan with some milk. It's so good." Lou D, how you doing, homie? That was a good show, right, Paul? Doing all right, Lou D. How about you? We were just flapping our lips about AI for the past, I don't know, hour or whatever. We should play. We should just play with some Shaper Box for a few because I'm gonna have to bounce in a bit because I got a meeting at noon. So we should just play for a bit, right? Forget our concerns. I was about to make some really weird toppers. I think out of these something. We'll see. Oh my goodness. Yeah, right. If will will would people trust OpenAI with their health? Uh, mm, publicly elected represent. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right. Like it is. You're right. It's these things like local government, people actually participating. It's true. All of those things are going to have such a huge impact on these things because people have to be involved. They have to keep the accountability factor there. Ayo. Ayo, Ludi, you just posted something to listen to. We can do that. Didn't EA make music construction kit for the C64? This Quavers is sponsored by Nike. Make your beat the best it can be. Use Nike Quavers. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh boy. All right, let's I want to hear what Ludi made. This is going to be like the least productive stream we've had in some time, I think, today. Where, oh, where is public feedback? There it is. Let's see. Hey, get out of here. Can't I just listen? I have to log in to listen. Hold on just a second. I'm already logged in. Oh, request access. Oh, man. Hey, can we do this a different way? Need to make more music. Why you been slacking? All good, Ludi. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna make something. Okay, this guy. Go to here. And what if we bring this one down a bit more? Yeah. And let's bring this one down just a bit more. Saucy. All right. Let's do this one. Ah. There we go. Ba-da-bump, ba-dum, bump, ba-dum, ba-da-bump. Okay, where am I going here? Discord. Where's my Discord? There we go. Ba-da-bump, ba-dum, bump. We're in.
Put your hands up for Detroit, a lovely city. Put your hands up. Hands up, hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands up for Detroit, a lovely city. Put your hands up for Detroit. your hands up for Detroit.
Yo, Ludi, this is great. Like, I'd say that this is like completely done. I mean, I kind of want a little bit more in the slap back for the kick throb, just a little bit. This is really good. Arrangement needs some work. A little. Little. I don't know about the quick transition thing. I really thought this one was super solid.
Put your hands up for Detroit.
I like that one.
Hands up, hands up.
This might be the shortest track you've brought us. Nitpicking. We got to say something about this. I like this one. It feels really classic, and kind of no mess around. Yeah, the sound design is pretty authentic. Getting the transition frequency slide went a bit too fast. Again, nitpicking. Let's do this. I do like that little wow.
Put your hands up. Hands up, hands up. Put your hands up.
I like this one. I like this. Yeah, don't change this one. I love that. Syndremic. I can't just say a 10 out of 10. I'm picturing Syndremic saying this, by the way, at a judge's table. With the other judges, they're holding their cards and just looking at him saying this. Just picture this. I can't say it's a 10 out of 10. That's just unacceptable. Y'all can expect me to say 10 out of 10 to everyone. You get 10 out of 10, and you get 10 out of 10, and you get 10 out of 10. It's really good, but maybe you could add some Nike quavers. Oh, normally I produce long versions first, but of course the labels want short Spotify versions. That's why I'm starting with a short version. Got it. You get a Nike quaver, and you get a Nike quaver. Oh, man. People that pop into the stream are probably like, who are these people? Why are they have, it's all inside jokes here. I do not belong. Don't forget your Adidas brand monitors for the most accurate mixing possible. Oh, man, right? Right? Goodness. Hey! Cody Mode is here. Syndremic is hiding the 10 out of 10 cards. Just gonna put these away here. Um. Oh, Seth. This one, Bloom, actually. I went with Bloom with this one. I was playing around with their sequence editing tools, and I like it. I do like it. I'm still 100% with Roku on like it's. I really don't like that I can't put my own stuff into it. Um, which is probably why I'm choosing to like process this stuff a fair bit. Um, but yeah, Bloom. I like this. Let's go up just a smidge here at the end. Ah, yeah, that's nice. Fan of that kick. That's a classic one. Just seeing this one from Ben in the chat. Saffron Works. Hi, I love you. Also, if you degrade your music again, I'm a rent a car and show up at your house. Then I'll tie you up and release all your music on Bandcamp and DistroKid and roll out a custom marketing strategy. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. In other words, Saffron, you make really good music. Ben doesn't want you here and saying anything other than that. All right, kitty cats. I should boogie. I got a meeting here in just like 4 minutes. So let's see who is playing over here. Drop you guys off somewhere. We'll be back at it again in a couple of days. Let's go. Let's go say hi to the E-Town guys. Oh, there are a couple other people streaming today. I got to do a better job of looking tomorrow. Wednesday. All right, kitty cats. I appreciate you. I'll see y'all on the flip. Have a good Monday.